Oklahoma is a top 10 state when it comes to hunger, with 1 in 5 children at risk of going to bed on an empty stomach and 1 in 6 adults. We begin with a two-part statewide look at what is being done to combat the problems of food insecurity and food deserts in our state.
Oklahoma has a higher percentage of food deserts than most of the rest of the nation, and the problem got a little worse this week in northeast Oklahoma City when the area's only full-service grocery store closed its doors. It shocked the community.
It's almost a crisis of, now what do we do?
A food desert, as defined by the U.S. Department of Agriculture, is an area of low access to fresh food and low income based on the 2010 census. For Oklahoma, that means 54 of its 77 counties have a food desert. Those food deserts are concentrated in central and eastern Oklahoma. Feeding America notes that Oklahoma's food insecurity rate is nearly 16% compared to the national average of 12.5%. More than 22% of Oklahoma children are food insecure, while Payne County has the highest rate of food insecurity in Oklahoma at 19.5%, demonstrating that the problem exists in rural and urban Oklahoma. The Smart Saver grocery store was the only one in the 73111 zip code of northeast Oklahoma City. We requested to speak with the owners, but they never responded. Just a couple of miles away, a Save-A-Lot grocery closed earlier this year after less than a year in operation. Recording artist and community activist J.B. Williams is worried about his neighbors.
I live right around the corner from it on 26th Street, and a lot of, my neighbors, people live in my neighborhood, they walk there.
Williams compares the situation of the grocery store owners to his own career in music.
If I make a CD that doesn't sell, I still have other CDs that are selling. If I make a song that doesn't do well, I still know how, because I've been doing it my whole life, I know how to make more songs.
And that is the reason he doesn't understand why the owners of that Smart Saver have shut their doors.
We've seen them, create and build thriving grocery stores, but all of a sudden one isn't thriving. They don't know how to fix it. We know that you do because we've seen you do it.
Even before the store closed, Williams says he was researching what it would take for a co-op of community-led owners to take over the store. Financing for a project like that could be on the way thanks to a state law passed 2 years ago creating the Healthy Food Financing Initiative. The legislature began funding the program this year.
This act was intended to address the food desert situation that appears in quite a few areas of our states.
The program was assigned to the Department of Agriculture, Food, and Forestry to manage.
So when we were given the act, we started the rulemaking process, which we are still in now. Because this was a fairly timely bill, that we are going to go ahead and write emergency rules for that, and we hope to pass those in September.
The emergency rules make it possible for the program to offer help on an expedited basis, encouraging the development of fresh and healthy food options for communities with a food desert.
It is intended to fund either small grocery stores, small food retailers, or the like in these communities, specifically, again, targeting those fresh food items like produce, meat, and eggs.
The Department of Agriculture could begin awarding the grants and loans to qualified applicants in early 2020. However, that doesn't help the residents in northeast Oklahoma City right now. So city leaders formulated a plan to address the immediate needs. The stopgap measures include food distribution sites and food resources. Another measure is the creation of a special public transportation shuttle service, taking residents from the closed store to a full-service market about 5 miles away.
I know that a councilwoman is trying to figure out maybe bus routes and stuff for people to hop on the bus and get a ride to, the other grocery stores and stuff like that.
Officials will assess the transportation plan and make adjustments as necessary. Tulsa County is also dealing with food deserts, and Rich Lenz has that part of the story.
Well, Jason, that's right. The situation is the same here in North Tulsa. This, too, is a food desert. However, there is progress being made thanks to Uber and an innovative new program.
Uber and Lyft is improving people's health.
Yes.
I love it. That makes my day.
Hi. Hi, how are you?
I'm Reagan. I'm with NCOG. We're
Nice
the
to
funders.
meet you.
So this is called Tulsa Can Ride, and it's CAN is creating access to nutrition, and we've received a $70,000 grant to provide ride share for seniors and people with disabilities that reside in North Tulsa.
Diane Avenger Williams is one of them. Today, she's shopping at Reese's, one of 5 grocery stores located near the food desert boundary.
So I sometimes use it 2 or 3 times a week. Food don't last like it used to, and then it maybe either goes bad or, you just got this excess. And now, I can get as needed.
And fresh.
And fresh.
All Diane has to do is call Reagan's agency to get picked up at her home and then later dropped off. It's free and easy, and right now, about 40 people are participating. But that number continues to grow every week.
I think because rideshare is such a new concept for the older generation. We've always told them don't get in cars with strangers, and now we're telling them this is what you need to do to get to nutrition.
The Community Food Bank of Eastern Oklahoma operates out of a huge warehouse stocked floor to ceiling with household items and food, 40% of it fresh produce. Last year alone, this food bank and its 350 partner agencies distributed almost 29 million pounds of food, the equivalent of 464,000 meals every week to 24 counties in the eastern part of the state. And yet, the need still grows.
Food deserts aren't just urban situations. Probably a less told story are the towns who have lost their grocery stores. And that particularly impacts the elderly residents for whom driving 30, 45 minutes to a grocery store is not only inconvenient, it's just really almost prohibitive.
The situation in North Tulsa will soon improve, with an investment group announcing they will open a new grocery store in 2020. And Eileen says making that works both ways.
Now it's time for the neighborhood to rally around and support that store when it opens, and I think that's really important to bring up as well.
Crystal Washington joined the food bank in 2015 as a volunteer. Now she's a full-time manager and knows firsthand what it feels like to seek help.
To be honest with you, I even went to agencies before I started working here. So they might be down on their luck, lost their job, and they might come in and they feel timid and like, oh no, I'm embarrassed. And I tell them, no, don't be embarrassed. That is what we are here for, and that is to help you.
That help is delivered daily to a handful of locations where the need is greatest. Maddie Sloan is the food bank's mobile eatery manager.
This year we're taking both of our trucks out, and so we're able to double our efforts this year versus last year, which is a lot more helpful. And each truck goes to 3 sites. We picked the sites that had the most kids, it would make the most impact.
Hi, buddy. Come get some little snackies.
When school's out, these children cannot access the free lunch program. This summer, Maddie and her staff have already handed out a record 85,000 meals to kids.
And technically the program is just for kids, but we don't want to send anybody away without a meal, so we make adult meals ourselves because we're all trained chefs.
For Maddie, Crystal, Eileen, and Reagan, this work defines what a labor of love truly is.
We get to share ourselves with these people that, could use a little helping hand, so it's very fulfilling as a job.